I've worked with some of the most amazing drummers on sessions that I've been involved with, and ultimately their work has still been gone and quantized because that was the right job for that particular song. They were going to layer stuff on top of it that had to be bang on, and an example of this I'll show you in here. Again, it's a slightly unusual song, but
time will pass by your window.
So I'm going to pull the music back and just leave the drums running. So if I go into where I've kept the drums, I've gone through several stages of working with them, and the original kit sounds like that. So it wasn't a phenomenal sound we've got, and this is totally un-EQ'd and just and it's not a bad performance, it's fairly tight, but once everything else started to come in, it was really pushing and pulling quite awkwardly. So I went through a process, and as much just to make an example today, of tightening that up. So in this folder I've got the same audio, and I've actually gone myself from beginning to end, and I've chopped, moved and crossfaded every strike. And in the case of the snare, where you've got this pattern here, for example, really wanted it to be a crunchy forward sound, and I actually used a sample of an older sort of reggae style record where on top of it I've layered that on top of the snare sound. Now to get that right, literally you can see the red blocks are where it's happened, and I didn't use exactly the same piece. It was actually from an old sort of library of reggae sound. So I've gone in and I've selected a series of hits from a drum fill so that I can have a little bit of variation to try and stick with the sort of the nature of the project. But to get that to work, particularly with a snare drum and the kick and the hat, I would never really mess around with replacing a hat. That's almost impossible unless it's a really, really aggressive hat where you've got a strong transient. But on the snare, I've had to go from beginning to end, and I've literally phase aligned every snare hit so that they're bang on each other. Otherwise you just get, and it totally defeats the purpose. And I guess the point is, you either have it as it is, but if there's something you have in mind that you want, you're going to have to go quite far into it. So those little 16th notes are running against each other. But if you take it, for example, what happens if they're not on by only a few? It just doesn't, you just can't get away with that. You feel like the transient is completely lost. If I move them back in, it's just a tighter sort of vibe.